I think that needs to really be remembered because few teams were expected to be able to push Gen G, but AL pushed them to their absolute limit. One of the favorites for the tournament. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump into the draft, sponsored by Omen and HyperX. Rumble and Varus already taken away from the side of CFO, the Pantheon from AL. Not really that much of a surprise. So far, we're just seeing the very traditional meta bans. With Driver starting first, something we've gotten used to so far throughout spring from CFO. Sion is something you always have to think about as a big priority pick for him. I mean, hell, he's named after the champion. That was the inspiration for it. So I wonder if that is going to be high on the priority list or if Flandre has got something prepared for us.
That is the question. Flandre, obviously, in the good old days when he was on Snake Esports, did have some of those more eclectic picks, the Fizz, the Yasuo, things that he could really bring out to mechanically outplay his opponents. Now, his hands aren't quite as good as they used to be, but still has some of those pocket picks. Yorick, one that we always have to look at. Obviously, Sion, very good into the Yorick, though.
Well, with the Nico banned away, Twisted Fate is going to be left available. We've also got the Taliyah up as well for Hongq, should he want it. Pantheon gone, the Rumble gone, the Vi gone. Yeah, usually things like the Vi and the... Well, I say that, yeah, the Xin Zhao going to rise in priority, the Azir as well. Maybe it's a trade here. Oh, and there is that Sion going to be taken away from Driver. So I do now wonder if it's going to be an Azir for Taliyah trade between the two mid lanes.
It would make a lot of sense. Both Hongq and Shanks have had really good tournaments so far. Even in their losses, Shanks has had some exceptional individual moments. I'm thinking back to his Akali when he was 6-0 in that game. It looks like, although, it might not be the Azir Taliyah trade that we so often see. Annie has really risen to priority over the last few weeks here at MSI, and her ability to be engaged in a composition gives her a lot of power in mid lane. In the end, CFO are going to get the Xin Zhao locked in first here for Junja.
Okay, so they want to give Junja something with agency. I mean, there's a lot of mid laners available that you can pair this champion up with, so I don't think CFO is feeling that much pressure. If anything, they want to see how AL react so they can respond in kind. Maybe they don't even have to pick a power pick in response. They could save those so much later into the draft. Perhaps Hongq has something prepared. We've seen his Aurora absolutely pop off. He also has the Victor as an option if he just wants to go for more of a scaling mid matchup. Taliyah is a very common response to the Azir. An old school response is also the Ryze, a champion that can match on side lanes, can also get you that early push, naturally has weaker team fighting, but can still fit nicely when paired up alongside the Xin.
With the Azir locked in for anyone's legend, they are currently looking towards the Poppy, which does stop Xin from doing a lot of the stuff he wants to do in the early game. Also stops the facilitated dive that Xin can allow. Jumps in with your Audacious Charge, Rakan jumps onto him. Leona follows up with a Zenith Blade. Poppy stops all of those dashes and can be flexed to support, although we are seeing it a lot more in the jungle right now.
We've also already seen it come through twice from Tarzan, so I think you're very much right on the money that we're expecting it to be in that jungle position. We will wait and see, though, as we move back towards the CFO side. They're taking their time thinking about this. Taliyah is the natural expectation. It is such a strong pick on the meta. Pairs up nicely with the Xin and also does well into the Azir because you can get that early prio and you can just move around the map and it's difficult for the Azir to follow. He just primarily wants to stay in that mid lane matchup, farm away, get to those first few items as quickly as he can. CFO, though, wanting to round out the draft. The question is, do they want to lock in an AD carry here? Maybe they want a little bit more dive, of course, into the Poppy. Something like Kai'Sa could be quite scary. Maybe they just want to lock something in for Driver. The Cassante is available. One of his favorites, the Gragas as well, looking to be the direction that's what they're going to go for. All right, so he's going to get his hands on one of his comfort picks. Both the Sion and the Gragas are two of the champions that he's really known for domestically. Of course, this will give Flandre a lot of freedom to respond, but we talk about the flexibility of the Poppy. There's always the off chance that they can send it down towards Kaiwing as well.
Immediately, the Yorick locked in for Flandre. Never want to pick it blind, but it can work well in certain matchups. Gragas has quite a lot of innate sustain just from his passive and his kit, so not that easy to work him down, but getting the slows down, putting the walls down when he tries to go for the engage can help you out in that top lane 1v1. We'll see how AL want to get into the second phase of bans. Caitlyn the ban might see a priority towards those AD carries. Wouldn't be surprised, actually, if Doggo is targeted with how strong his MSI has been so far. it's a really easy point of pressure to put on CFO if you can manage to take away some of his best champions.
I will say, I want to say it was the T1 BLG series where a lot of the focus was actually on the support bans instead of AD carries. And I just preferred that strategy more simply because I feel that the AD carry pool just feels very open right now. There's so many options available to you. If you attack that engage support pool specifically, we know that like Leona, Rel, Rakan, Alistair, those are the kind of the main 5 engage supports.
Yeah.
And so if you pinch that pool, then you can kind of shepherd the enemy support into whatever you want. And for Kaiwing, we know him as an engaged support player.
Very true.
Range supports are not his forte. His Bard was solid in the series versus Koi, for sure. There were a couple of fumbles here and there, but that could be an angle with which they look to punish. If we talked about it, there's the Leona now going to be taken away from Kaiwing. Of course, a lot of engaged supports still available, in particular the Alistair.
And I was going to say, I think that's part of the problem with banning out engaged supports in the game 1 of Fearless. After a few of them have been played, if you get rid of a couple more of them, then you are really at the bottom of the barrel getting the dregs. Right now, even if you ban Rel, Leona, Nautilus, Rakan, Alistair, all rise in priority, right? So Lucian and Ezreal are taken away from Hope, Caitlyn and the Leona taken away from CFO. AD carry seems to be where anyone's legend want to go next. Hope looking towards his Jhin.
Well, traditional front to back. It's very common when you play alongside Nazir. Both Jhin and Ezreal are very common mainstays, and with Ezreal banned, naturally Jhin rises in priority. So it makes a lot of sense for Hope. He's going to grab that one for himself, and it pairs up very nicely. And he's got a plethora of supports that he can pair alongside it as well. Rel becomes the immediate answer, but if Rel gets locked on the other side, they can slot in an Alistair too. That
was my thought. Corki Rel into Jhin, Alistair. Alistair obviously can negate a lot of the engage from Rel early game just by knocking her up when she goes in for that crash down. You could also look for something with a little bit of a long-range engage in the form of that Ashe. CFO have some engage, Xinjiao running in, Seismic Shove, the explosive cask, but they don't have that snap hard engage that you often see from something like a Rel or a Leona right now.
Goes Misfortune. We haven't seen him bring out the pick yet so far at MSI, but something he is naturally very comfortable on. You pair this alongside the Rel, and you've got quite the wombo combo starting to be built up. The biggest problem that AL have is their limited engage. I wonder if CFO will look to get the Alistair for Kaiwing. While he hasn't played it so far at this tournament, I think that it is a good tool. Of course, into the Poppy, it's going to be difficult to find those engages, but that's where the Gragas becomes very valuable. Creating that disruption in the fight, opening up the fight to be a little bit more flexible, maybe even just knocking the Poppy away to then open you up for the Alistair to go in. You've also got the Xin to provide that initial start to the fight, or maybe even as a follow-up. I feel like CFO have a lot of tools to just create anarchy and chaos in the fight, whereas right now AL primarily focus on disengage. With the Poppy ultimate, the Azir ultimate, Jhin wanting to play as far back as possible. They have so much range at their disposal, and they're going to keep it that way. Rounding things out with a Bard. We've been seeing a bunch of Bard at this tournament. The ultimate has proven to be so effective, especially into champions like Misfortune. Oh, you want an ultimate? How about I just throw a Bard ult on your face? Not only will it interrupt your ulti, but it'll also give time for my team to position and maybe punish you the moment that the stasis wears off. I think it can be really effective into the Alistair, especially given how Ali is super weak in the early laning phase, but also the fact that Bard just sets up nicely with the Jhin to kind of potentially set up for those routes and everything.
It's also super nice into the anyone that wants to run at you. Bard is great if someone could only run forward at you to get the engages off, because you have the Cosmic Binding to lock them against walls, you've got slows from your auto attacks, and even then you have the Magical Journey to get everyone the hell out of dodge if the Alistair is getting too close. So I really like the Bard pick here from Kyle in his first international tournament alongside Shanks, hoping to show up here for anyone's legend. I think he has underperformed compared to the expectations we would have from this support coming into the tournament. For non-subscribers, we will see you in about 30 seconds time to kick off this final week of MSI as we make our way onto Summoner's Rift.
Coming into this tournament, I was so excited watching AL as they progressed throughout the LPL playoffs, specifically just because I love watching Tarzan in the early game. He's such an intelligent jungler, the way in which he controls the map. I thought he was super impressive in how he controlled BLG's aggression, especially. And CFO aren't a hyper-aggressive team. They're very controlled in their playstyle as well. And so I feel like when it comes to this jungle matchup, it really is a battle of the minds, trying to read what the other plans to do. And we'll see how things pan out in the early game. Game 1 of this best of 5 between CFO and AL. We're hoping for an exciting one. CFO have done nothing but surprises throughout this tournament, and they want to keep those surprises going if they can go toe-to-toe with the LPL first seed, that would be massive for the LCP and the development of this team that have already had an amazing year, all things considered.
It's kind of the passing of a torch as well over to CFO. Choi did an interview, their coach, and he was saying, we don't want to be known just as PSG Light. CFO this year have come in and proven they have a name for themselves. They are the Flying Oysters. 2 domestic trophies, only lost 1 game or 1 series domestically, and then obviously at first stand, only losing to Hanwha Life in that group stage.
Yeah, and then they pushed KC all the way to 5 games. They were so close to making it to the finals. And then here at MSI, it was the first time since Worlds 2012 that an APAC team beat one of the major regions in a best of 5. So already a massive accomplishment for them, but they're setting their sights high and they're looking to continue that journey here against AL. Not going to be an easy opponent by any means, but we'll see how they fare as everyone. Early vision was naturally invested to try and track what both these junglers were up to. It looks like they're both going to start on the top side.
Yeah, path down towards their bot lanes, which does make a lot of sense. There's quite a lot of CC down there if they want to look for those early ganks. Kind of always do that 3-camp into gank as well. If you want to put a Yorick behind, you can do that. It is pretty difficult. He has a lot of innate lifesteal in his kit with his last rites, and obviously if the ghouls get on you, it can be a bit tricky to really take him down.
Already a bit of trading, but as we expected, AL's bottom lane looking to get that early push. Level 2 going to come through from Kyle. Meanwhile, the mid has that push, and Flandre with a bit of an advantage on the top side of the map. Now, it's important to recognize Flandre is considered one of the best Yorick players in the world.
Yeah, 7-2 all-time on this champ.
And while when CFO played the Yorick themselves, they did see an Aurelia answer for driving, not that kind of player. He's much more of the tanky style player. I think this meta fits him perfectly. Right now, he acts as a frontline, he acts as a disruptor, and I think individually, he's had a really incredible tournament. So far in the laning phase, things are going kind of as we expected. The Gragas naturally going to get pushed in, focus on clearing those waves. Both junglers pathing towards the bot side of the map. On cue. Not going to go for the knockback, we'll proc the phase rush. Valuable against the long-range poke that Shanks is going to have access to on this Azir. Kaiwen looking to clear out some vision, opening up for a potential early gank.
But this is why the ward that Kyle placed on the red buff is so important. You've Oracles the Tribush, but Kyle walked all the way towards red to get vision on Ginger through his path. So now they know for the next 30 seconds or so, they need to be a little bit more defensive. Then they place the ward into the Tribush because they already had that extra security blanket of a deeper ward.
Yeah, with good preparation here in the early laning phase, the pings are coming down aggressively, it seems like, from Tarzan.
I think he thought perhaps he could catch out Ginger. Obviously, the magical journey from the Bard as well gives you very quick collapse potential. Ginger's pathing up towards the top side, knowing his bot lane's pushed in. He just wants to make sure that he is on an even keel with Tarzan through this early game. Both of them will exchange scuttle crabs.
Okay, so nothing too crazy. Very much as we expected here in this early game. I wonder if we're going to be seeing an early swap come through from CFO. Normally it would favor a comp more like CFO. Not only does it get you out of this high pressure bot side 2 versus 2, but also put some pressure on the Yorick, and Gragas should feel pretty comfortable in a 1 versus 2 just because of how safe you are with the wave clear and sustain that you have thanks to your W. Both junglers going to path back towards their top sides.
Honkyu and Shanks continue to trade in the mid lane. A small lead for Honkyu in the lane, about 3 CS up after Shanks manages to pick up both of these. They'll both recall and start to build towards their first items. The only substantial lead really is in top lane for Flandre on this Yorick. Kind of to be expected with the way that Yorick can play this early lane. Driver, yeah, you can farm from range, but you can't really do too much more into the Yorick because he has so much sustain and he has the ghouls to help him out.
So as we have a moment during this slower early game, we can turn our attention towards this mid lane matchup, which is Shanks versus Honkyu. You've already talked a lot about how these players have had strong individual performances throughout this tournament, but what impresses me is like the little amount of international experience they've had, but the impact that they've already been able to demonstrate. So many LPL fans have been so eager to see Shanks on the international stage, and this is his first. For Honkyu, of course, he did participate in the first stand tournament at the beginning of the year, but I think that it's amazing to see the potential and talent that both of these players have already demonstrated. The fact that Shanks just came to the tournament and played like it was just another day. Yep. He's already had some incredible performances, and Honkyu, given his age, I think many expected him to be a lot more nervous, but the man just went toe-to-toe with Faker and didn't even think about it, even earning the GOAT's respect after his first series.
I think for Shanks as well, the fact that he joined back in 2020 on WE and it's taken him this long to have his first international performance and he's playing well at it. Often players, when it takes them a while to get here, will have a much higher degree of anxiety, of nerves, when they actually get onto the international stage. But Shanks having the tournament of his life so far, and as he dashes in onto Hongkyu, Seismic Shove going to get him back. Emperor's Divide coming out as Hongkyu walks to the safety of Junja. Shanks actually has to flash away from the wind, becomes lightning, with the Audacious Charge coming in as well. Kaiwing could look for a flash over the wall here. Shanks in enemy territory, 3 members around him. Driver has to back away from Hope and Kyle. The Drake goes over to AL, and Shanks retreated to the top side, bot side of mid lane. And Alistair wasn't able to find a gank.
Shanks doing a good job of weathering that pressure that was coming through from CFO. The Dragon secured by AL. Now they can turn their attention to the top side to look to try and contest. Keep your eyes on the mini-map and notice that Hope is already moving through the river. Shanks doesn't really have much HP to contest right now, but of course the Grub's still over a minute away, so they shouldn't feel any immediate stress. But I imagine that, oh yeah, nice. Hope is just going to move towards the mid lane, catch this next mid wave. He Kyle also returning from base, and they can send Shanks towards the bot side of the map. He's going to lose some farm as a consequence, but given that he's only 2 behind Hongkyu in the mid lane right now, he's not going to be too upset off the back of that.
Looks like actually they're going to send Flandre back and then he'll either walk or TP down towards that bottom side. They want that 1v1, especially with Flandre now having the Eulogy of the Isles, now having that Maiden available to him. He can push the Gragas back pretty effectively. So that seems to be where AL are assigning their lanes for the moment, as the Grubs will spawn in 30 seconds time. Both these teams really do like to fight around those objectives as well. We saw CFO actually coming out on the wrong side of a lot of those fights in some of their series and then managing to claw the games back through team fighting later on. So we'll see if anyone's Legend and CFO want to butt heads around those Grubs in 20 seconds time.
Well, here comes that push from Flandre. Bit of wave clear going to be responded by Driver thanks to the Q. Keep my eyes on the minimap though. AD carries are going to be matched up in the mid lane, kind of as we expected, as it's that fight for prio over that wave. This will give you access to that topside river, but the vision control already invested from AL is solid, but the response from CFO is just as good. Thanks to the control they had on the top side of the map, they have some good control wards set down. They also have control of the Scuttle Crab, which is now going to disappear. But Tarzan, knowing that he has the push from Hope and Kyle, is going to put that vision right back down.
Everyone on AL had a control ward in their inventories there. They already have 3 on the map as well, as Hope is chunked out a little bit by Doggo. The Make It Rain comes out as well, and as you say, great for CFO. Getting that enemy AD carry down to half HP, is running through a potion and has the Caretaker's Shrines to heal him up a little bit.
Something that we see often from these teams is you just try and fight, not around the objective, but in the lanes. That means that the... Oh, hang on a second. Junja in a lot of danger.
Cosmic Binding just short. Crescent Guard coming out, but there's the Temper Fate, and Junja has to flash it. All of this facilitated by the fact that Flandre actually walked up through the river. There were a couple of control wards for AL down towards that bottom side. Flandre is able to get up here, can teleport back down because he didn't use his teleport to get to bot. Really nice map movements all around from AL.
And this is what I'm saying, where you don't fight around the objective, you fight in the... Oh, nice ulti.
Bullet time! It's gorgeous! Kaiwing looking at the stun, but doesn't chase any further onto Hope. Hope holds onto his flash through all of that.
Doggo applies the slow with the Make It Rain, then throws out the bullet time, and then in a combination of the slow, the knock-up comes through from Kaiwing, sorry, to set up for a huge chunk of damage. No flash burn, though. The response ulti now from Hope.
It's a wave clear ulti more than anything else. No encore going to be fine for him. As Flandre trading with Junja down towards this bottom side. Kyle on the chase as well. It's a 3v2 right now in favor of CFO. Cosmic Binding coming out. Kaiwing still only level 5. Lands the knock-up explosive cast as well, but there's the flash and the smash into the wall, and Kaiwing is mown down by anyone's Legend.
Nice punish from Tarzan. The flash into the wall connect means that there's little that Kaiwing can do to escape. He was so close to level 6 as well. If he had that extra point in his ultimate, that would have kept him alive. First blood is secured by Al. They want a little bit more. They're going to get it.
Steal away the Krugs. Get the wave pushed in as well. Driver has the stacking build here with the Catalyst and the Tear, but doesn't really have much damage to back up any of his spells right now. As at 10 minutes into the game, AL out to a small early lead. Kyle being an absolute thorn in CFO's sides as well with his positioning. Fortunate for Flandre here, losing the Maiden of the Mists. Maybe he put a Morning Mist onto Driver that meant it chased him under the tower.
Look back at this play that happened in mid?
It's Tarzan coming across, Doggo has to flash.
So they show us,
sense.
Doggo did lose his flash. We didn't mention that earlier, but yeah, okay. Nice collapse ultimately, did result in a small advantage gained. And then I thought this was an over-ambitious play initially, 2 versus 3, but CFO realized that Tarzan is coming in for the collapse. Kaiwing gets a nice knock-up. The ultimate from Driver comes through as well, knocking them back. But Tarzan, good angle, flash, connects with the E, sets up for first blood, and they get the Krugs to boot. So about a 500 gold lead for now in favor of AL. The Dragon spawning in about 5 seconds, so that will likely be their next focus. And as you mentioned, both teams love to play around these objectives. In the early game, they like to have control around these neutrals. And so I imagine that both sides will be setting their sights on it. Ooh, nice
Driver
flash.
has to flash the Emperor's Divide. Explosive Cast will knock him back. Was in tower range for a single shot, but with Tarzan backing him up, he should be fine. Just walks his way away.
Okay, cool play. Didn't result in a huge amount, but still, very cool. Driver putting a bit of pressure onto Shanks, but now Tarzan on the top side of the map completely concedes control over the bot side. The mid push will come through from Hope, giving him access into the river. Ginger will drop that control ward, making it harder for AL to approach, but keep your eyes on the minimap. Tarzan making his way down. No TP available on Shanks, which means this will be a 4 versus 4.
Ginger already on the Drake. That's pretty much gone. They might look for the fight afterwards, though, as Flandre has the flank. Ginger's going to land the smite. There's the tempered fate coming out onto Ginger. Kaiwing trying to get his way away. Ginger still stunned up. Keeper's verdict finds Hongkyu guilty, and the chase continues. Ginger with the Crescent Guard keeps himself alive for a hell of a long time. In the end, he's murdered by Hope, 2-0 AL.
So this is what we talked about with both compositions being allowed to create chaos in the fights. The Poppy ultimate, the Bard ultimate, the knockback coming through from the Xin Zhao, the terrain that is being created by the Talia means a lot of different things are happening on your screen at once. In this situation though, Tarzan created the numbers advantage, which isolated Ginger. That made it so much easier for AL to commit to the collapse, and while they do concede the second Dragon of the game, they will secure a 1k gold lead off the back of another pick.
And Hope getting the kill as well means he's about 400 gold ahead of Doggo, where they've been pretty even so far this game. Leads in the jungle, the mid lane, the AD carry role, and support so far for AL. And this is something they've done so well this tournament. Their early games, even against Gen G, they were actually getting leads in the early game, 1-2k ahead, and then Gen G were finding really opportunistic fights to get themselves back into that series. For CFO, that's also been the watchword for them, opportunistic fights around those neutral objectives. So it's not too much of a sad situation, but you need to stop the bleeding at some point.
I mean, I think that when you have two teams that like to play a little bit more of a controlled style in the early game that's very objective focused, naturally it comes down to who has the better setup and who has who's faster on the play. And I think what we're seeing is that CFO do still have good setup. They're very aware of playing around these neutrals, the fact that they even got that bot Dragon, punishing the fact that Tarzan's on the top side of the map. The thing is that you have to remember is that AL, the one advantage I would say they have over CFO is that they're that much faster and that much more confident in their engages. They will not hesitate to start a fight, sometimes to their own detriment, but largely they're very aware of their positioning and they know how to take a very good fight. And this is something that CFO has to respect as Doggo. He's in a bit of danger.
Able to sidestep the deadly flourish. Hope continues to rain hell upon him. There's the barrier. Back. He tries to fight back, had the bullet time available just now, but decides against making Hope dodge like Neo.
My goodness.
Good. Yeah, good fight back. Does burn his summoner. Gets a heal out of Kael, who's running that unsealed spellbook, and switched over to Exhaust.
I just love the fact that Doggo sidestepped the damage and said, fine, I'll take this fight. 2 versus 1.
I have a Bloodthirster. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, beautifully done by Doggo. That's the level of confidence we'd like to see from him and why he's been such a standout player for CFO. Holds on to the midway for now. Hongkyu and Shanks, they've really been the top laners of this game so far, largely just pushing in the side wave. Shanks been a little bit more isolated than that of Hongkyu. That's why you can see that experience advantage that he's currently sitting on. But we get closer to our next neutral. It is the Rift Herald. Pings from both sides coming down. It's Ginger that's first to the objective. You'll notice in terms of the vision control that it will be CFO that have the better initial setup. They've got good control ward coverage. They've got a nice deep ward behind the pit as well. But AL have at the very least some information, which is now going to be denied by Ginger. Kael already looking to replenish that vision. But nice control ward usage. CFO creating good darkness around the map.
Another ward goes into the back of the pit though. Doggo steps forward towards Tarzan here, trying to force him away. Kael has that tempered fate, and it's such an easy go trigger for a fight. Flandre coming out of base as Ginger and Driver pull the Rift Herald all the way to the banana bush.
Problem for CFO is that these waves are being pushed in and they have to respond. So you'll notice Hongkyu sitting on the top wave, catching that wave, but now he can look to regroup with his team.
Tarzan
Doggo
Going for Doggo, who has the flash, dodges the deadly flourish, flash forward from Kaiwing. He knocks Tarzan back, and he has to flash away the Weaver's Wall coming out from Honkyu. Immediately exhausted, the bullet time opens up, but doesn't find much purchase. And in the end, CFO should be able to retreat. Lose about half of all their health bars. Curtain Call coming out. Driver with the explosive cast knocks back Shanks! And Shanks, even with the Emperor's Divide, can't survive! Junja with a knocker with the Q3. Flandre going to turn it back around on him. And Junja will fall. CFO still trying to find a purchase on this fight. Hope takes a double up and is able to walk away.
Both of these teams are just fishing for that fight, but there's so many disengaged tools. We saw the Gragas ultimate interrupting the Jhin ultimate. We saw the Poppy getting 2 knocked back on the side of CFO, creating a numbers advantage for AL. The kills end up being 1-for-1 overall. But as we go back into this fight, you'll notice that it starts with AL looking for a pick onto Doggo. He seems isolated in the mid lane, but he does what he did before. He sidesteps, he plays with nothing but confidence, and Kaiwing looks and punishes. Then the ulti comes through from Honkyu, but then the bullet time doesn't really do a huge amount. Kyle, nice interrupt using the ulti to stop Honkyu from chasing. Then Hope says, you know what, I can get a really nice ulti here, and Driver says, that's my opportunity. Keep your eyes on Tarzan as he knocks a few members away. But Junja, that doesn't stop him from going in and setting up for Doggo to getting that kill. But now Junja's too deep. He realizes he's in a 1 versus 4 with the Maiden at their back as well. So it ultimately results in a 1-4-1. A tense situation. The Herald doesn't go down. And you have to imagine that both teams are going to get back out onto the map and set their sights on this neutral once more.
Importantly for AL, they did get the Feat of Warfare from that. Picked up their 3rd kill. So now they just need another neutral objective to be able to secure the Feats of Strength. Currently, Junja on his own on that Drake should be able to secure it. AL immediately ping for the Rift Herald. They're willing to take this trade. They haven't stacked up the Drake's early game, so if they can just get this Rift Herald, they can get first tower on the top side as well. It's an explosion of gold for them.
I think AL is going to benefit a lot more from this. It becomes a question of if CFO can convert the Dragon into a bot tier 1 as well. The bot tower has taken a decent amount of damage. This Herald is very slow, so while initially I thought AL had a pretty big tempo advantage, there should be a pretty good window here for CFO to set their sights on the bot lane, and I love that they're doing this. Doggo and Junja. Flandre, he's overstayed his welcome. He needs to get away from this tower, has the Maiden.
Puts it down, only a couple of minions here to really defend. Driver looking for the knockback, but Flandre flashes away the bullet time. Junja dashing forward, dodge this, says Doggo. Junja picks up the kill in the end, but meanwhile Rift Herald has been summoned in the mid lane as AL continue their advances. Kaiwing gets the knockback, tempered fate, keeper's verdict. You're all alone now, Honkyu, as Tarzan looks for the knock into the wall but can't find it. Cosmic Binding will still land but doesn't get the stun. There's the smash, there's hope. Honkyu flashes, but a soldier finds his back as AL get 2 in the mid lane.
Now the teams are starting to pick things up. I love the cross map that we saw from CFO, punishing Flandre, who's isolated on the bot side of the map, but AL respond with a punch of their own, immediately using the Herald to push down mid, look for picks, they convert it into a kill onto Honkyu, and ultimately they walk away the victors, I would say. They get the top tower, they get the mid tower, they get decent damage into the mid tier 2, they get a lot of value out of the back of this Herald. In exchange, the 3rd dragon of the game going to CFO as they get their bot tower as well. Whew. Back and forth from these teams, great cross maps, and you can see how tense the team fights are, but the player I'm keeping my eyes on is Doggo. I feel like he is playing with nothing but confidence in these fights. We've seen him use the flash once so far, but it's crazy that he hasn't been using it in the team fights. Yep. No matter what Tarzan does, he really just can't scare Doggo enough to use that summoner spell just yet.
And on the other side of the rift, my eyes are all on Shanks. A 1.4 thousand gold lead now on this Azir. Nash's Tooth and Rylai is complete. He's been having a great tournament so far and continues to do so here at MSI this fine Monday. He's now in the bot lane pushing out Honkyu, who's only got 1 item. Seraph's is fully stacked though, and has a Haunting Guise alongside it. Next Drake up in 3 minutes time, but there's an Atakan to fight around down towards that bottom side in about 15 seconds. Usually we see teams just standing back from the Atakan. No need to force it. Look for a fight around a different neutral and then go for it, but you never know.
Unless your name is BLG.
Unless your name is BLG. Or any of the European teams for some reason.
Well, Atakan now makes its way onto the rift.
I like this from CFO though. Setting up to try and take out Shanks. They know, ooh, he's quite far ahead as Kaio's knocked back with a seismic shot. Flashes lands a good double binding, and Atakan helps him out. There's the Temper Fate, TP behind, as CFO continue to look for the fight, but that teleport's going to take a hell of a long time to get there. And AL will just be able to retreat towards the mid lane.
I like this response from AL. Hey, we just got the TP out from their top laner. Flandre, you go shove top as quickly as you can. Oh,
Tarzan is deep here.
but he's just stalling. This is the thing, because Talia's still in the bot lane. Talia has to go top because he's the only one with the teleport available. Meanwhile, while keeping the pressure in the jungle, AL have also opened up that mid tower for a little bit more damage. While Hope doesn't secure the tower, he's done what he wanted, which is put more pressure down. What's happening? Tarzan putting more pressure in the jungle. And this is the scary thing about AL. They just suffocate with all this pressure that they're putting everywhere on the map. And that fog of war, as our observers are showing for us now, notice how it's encroaching on CFO's territory. There's no dragon for a minute and a half. CFO should be able to reclaim space to get back towards contesting this dragon, but look at how much more uncomfortable it is compared to a few moments ago. CFO did take a good fight. It looked good, a decent number of trades, but the moment they committed that TP, that was a step too far, and AL punished them for it.
See Flandre still pushing out this top side, doing exactly what he needs to do on this Yorick. For CFO, one of their key weaknesses as well is they don't have someone that can really rap for vision, as I like to say. Get behind enemy lines, get some wards in there, something like a Rakan or even a Bard that can use some tools to escape if they are caught out a little bit.
I just want to, again, bring our attention to this vision, because you'll notice that this line, it just hasn't been crossed by CFO for the last few minutes. They've got a little bit more vision into the entrance. You can see this blue ward. Now is their opportunity to do so. Now that AL have reset, the problem is all that vision that you've just replenished, you have to use it to clear out the wards. Meanwhile, AL are coming back out onto the map, refreshed, fully stocked. Look at that control wards. 2 for Flandre, 1 for Hope, 2 for Kyle. And that makes it very difficult for CFO to approach the river. AL with really good objective control, really good setup, great patient play from both sides. CFO, though, of course, not at a massive disadvantage just yet. The goal difference is starting to build, but they're still in a position to find a good fight.
The important thing is the effective goal difference really only exists in the mid lane. There's 2 items on Ginger to 1 item on Tarzan. Doggo has 2 items to 2 items on Hope. In terms of power, you have enough in your AD carry in your jungle. Mid lane is the weakness with that Rylai's and Nash's Tooth already complete. But CFO, I was wondering if they want to take this fight around this objective. Flandre does have teleport, and he's going to try and flank them as he TPs in. The dragon down to 7,000 HP. Honku looking for that flank position. Flandre comes in. There's the Weaver's Wall to separate the team. Driver on the wrong side of it, as is Kaiwing. CFO, where are your attentions? Currently split between the Drake and between the Bite. Bullet time opens up only onto Kyle. Driver forcing Shanks up towards the top side. Junja's going to land the smite onto the Mounted Drake. It's sole point now for CFO, but can they get the hell out of the fight? Flandre force load, the curtain call coming out as well. Here's Kaiwing into the deadly flourish for the root, and now CFO are all on the retreat. The river runs red with Kaiwing's blood, and Flandre wants to add more of CFO to it. Hope still on the chase. Doggo able to walk away for now, dodges the deadly flourish. AL might just have to accept 1 kill in the Atakan.
We're seeing how spread out these fights are because of all the disengaged tools, but CFO get themselves to soul point. They still want to contest this. Tarzan.
Tarzan in, there's the deadly flourish follow-up, and Shanks slides in. Meet my bodyguards. Tarzan falls though. Ginger able to flash away. Kai out looking for the flank, doesn't get the auto off, and Doggo's found 2. Hope just short of the seismic shove. Shanks and Flandre need to back up their bot lane. Hope reloading, gets the 4th shot off, but he doesn't have the damage, and Atakan is helping CFO! His allegiances changed in the middle of the fight. Shanks trying to dodge around, there's no vision in that bush. Flandre finds another, no mana left on him. Doggo with the red buff gets the slow onto Flandre, but isn't going to be able to chase any further. Kaiwing's back alive, and AL have to get back to base.
I wish in the damage graph we could see how much damage Atakan was doing in that fight. On both sides, it was being so obnoxious to deal with. CFO end up walking away with a lot off the back of that, getting a bunch of kills. Remember, they put themselves on soul point now, and AL, they weren't able to convert it into the Atakan, because that was the idea. In the extended fight, they're able to get a pick onto the support, and you're going to see that right now. Kaiwing on the front line, trying to zone the rest of AL away. The dragon is secured. Now it's Operation Escape from the side of CFO. The fight can't really be won. They have too much range on their side, so CFO has to retreat. Kaiwing is the sacrifice in exchange. Now with the health advantage and the numbers advantage, AL is saying we can do the Atakan, but CFO stepped too far. AL turned it into a fight. But the thing is, Doggo likes these odds a lot. Even when he's staring down all of these AL members, he feels safe because he's not the target. Hope is forced to use the barrier. Doggo's still saving onto that summoner spell, trying to bait them in. Pops it at the last second. Then they go too deep. Honku gets a kill onto Hope. And then it turns into this crazy affair. Meanwhile, Artikan is just doing damage to everyone in the midst of all of it.
Yeah, Hongyu teleporting back in with full HP really changed the landscape of that fight. For AL, you wonder, did Tarzan need to go for that wall slam? Did he need to force it? It is what AL like to do when they feel they have an advantage. They've got the bit between their teeth. They do not let go. Look at the damage from the AD carries in that last fight. Both the MF and the Jin absolutely shredding. So, where are we in terms of game state? Well, Flandre, very happy that he now has a 1.2k gold lead up in that top lane, but Hongyu has managed to garner back around 700, 600 gold in that mid lane discrepancy. For Doggo, he's got 3 items. Hope still short of it. Doggo obviously can go for the slightly magical footwear on the MF because you get the extra movement speed out of your strut. So he doesn't need the upgraded boots if all his job is to do is to stand behind his team and then strike at the opportune moment.
It's all going to come down to this next Dragon fight, I feel. I say all coming down to.
I mean, the first game might be decided by it.
Could very well be. I mean, CFO, they've lost a lot on the map. We look at the towers, 1 to 3, right? That's why CFO have kind of been falling short in terms of their overall map control. They've been setting their sights on these neutral objectives, and they've done a good job of either trading or contesting AL around these. But we turn our attention to the Artikan once more. Of course, the Dragon's still spawning in a minute's time. Driver has his teleport back up and available, so he's catching these mid waves.
CFO have no vision. Like, they have this one ward that's just being control warded. They have this one ward where Tarzan's standing, but nothing in the rest of the river. That's all controlled by anyone's legend. Now they're going to try and step in as Doggo will chunk out Shanks just a little bit. Double haunting guys now for him, giving him obviously extra health, but also that damage amplification from having 2 of them.
Doggo is scary.
Yep. That's not a Chihuahua. That's a pit bull right there.
What's Doggo going to go back and buy? Oh, okay. A little bit of healing reduction. All right, so we're ultimately just building up towards this next Dragon fight. Reset's going to come through. Shanks looking to get an upgrade for himself, perhaps. Quick base going to come through from him. Has the TP available.
Let's see. Maybe a Leandri's, Bloodlight's Curse. Just 2 options. Gets the boots
so
upgraded.
Have that shield, so a little bit more defense available for him. Okay, AL, you need to deny this soul away from CFO. The Mountain Soul is going to do some serious work in this game.
And AL, like, CFO really want to be on a position before AL get there, because AL have really good range. They've got the Azir soldiers, they've got the Jin from long range to keep you gated into a certain entry point.
Damage from Doggo there onto Shanks. Good start to the fight, chipping away with what you can.
So Driver's going to be the one to face check. Kyle there, knocked up, has the magical journey to get himself out. Driver locked up in the dark possession. Tempered Fate on 4. The keeper's verdict charged up and will knock out 2. Driver dives in, but the rest of his team are nowhere near him. Driver will fall after the stopwatch, and now CFO in a 4v5. Seismic shove just short on Tarzan. Do you keep fighting this, CFO? It's only AO's 2nd Drake of the game. You can set up around the Artikan to try and distract them a little bit while they go for the Dragon.
Just want purchase into the river, and they're going to get it. Hongyu already used his ultimate, but Doggo's ulti is still available. Ginger, he has prime access to this Dragon, but AL are not hitting it, or at the very least they're hitting it slowly.
Flandre looking for that flank, trying to gain control of the Tribush. Doggo standing behind the wall, just a little bit out of vision as Flandre puts the ghouls down, curtains open, and Kai Wing and Hongyu have to retreat. Hongyu just dodges the 4th shot, bullet time, not enough, good smite. Coming out there for AL. They'll turn their eyes now towards the Artikan, but you got to wait a little bit because Driver is on his way back up. They decide against taking that objective, unsurprisingly, and they'll settle themselves for the Drake and a 4,000 gold lead.
Bold move to convert that into the Artikan, so AL, they'll be happy with that. But the fight, in and of itself, very clean. Kyle gets a massive Tempered Fate onto 4. I noticed that they didn't try and do something crazy. It wasn't like a Shanks goes in, 4-man ultimate. No, that's not the play. The play is Tarzan knocks away the carries, and then Driver, almost like he didn't recognize what was happening, goes in, ready for an engage. The knockback looks good on paper, but he turns around to see no teammates behind him, and that's because Tarzan had connected the ultimate, crucially, onto Doggo.
Tarzan stepping forward once again. Hope looking for the deadly flash will land it, but only onto Kai Wing, who has that unbreakable will. No bullet time, no Weaver's Wall right now, nor is the curtain call available. CFO just trying to wrest control away from AL around this Baron, and they've done so successfully. No vision in the river at all for the LPL #1 seed.
needs to be careful. Yeah. He was very worried there about who was waiting in the fog of war. These towers are just not falling. They're so close. A lot of standing gold available for CFO to grab if they can just get a winning team fight, get some access onto these towers, but the wave clear from AL is scary to deal with.
That's the problem, right? You've got a Yorick on one side who has the Maiden and all the ghouls, and then you have an Azir on the other side. It's like as soon as a wave is within vision, it is dead. So for CFO, it really is win a fight, then take those turrets, then take those neutral objectives. For AL, they can play a little bit further back. It's happily scaling up right now. Leandri's almost complete for Shanks, who still has over 1,000 gold lead. Flandre has finished the spear and is building up to his next item as well. He's going to be a menace on the side lane. Very difficult for either Driver or Honkyu to deal with him at the moment. Honkyu is the one assigned to that duty, but his duty is very much just accept the wave and clear it out with the threaded volley rather than anything else.
Game is in a very tense state right now. 31 minutes in. CFO still at Soul Point. The Baron, of course, always a big point of contention. Azir and MF, both champions that can take that objective down very quickly. Honkyu as well would provide a huge amount of zone control, and that's the thing about both these comps is whoever's first on the objective, it's not that easy for the other side to just approach. I would argue it's a little bit easier for CFO because they do have Kaiwing and Driver, but even then, they have to take a lot of damage in order to get close, ready for the engage. And even if they do, there's so many disengage tools on the side of AL, but it's the same the other way around. AL don't have the most reliable engage. They do have, of course, the Bard ultimate to create some, as a way to start a fight, or even to just gain some space in the river. But CFO approaching an MF and a Talia blind can be very scary stuff. So having control over these neutrals is really important, and that's why AL has put so much focus on this vision control while pushing out these side lanes. The farm continues, Dragon spawning in about 1:45. Doggo going back to base. Will they have enough to get the upgrade? Yes, he will. Mortal Reminder finished off.
AL, though, still controlling this top side of the map. Flandre just still pushing out bot side. Has that Jack Show alongside the Spear and the Trinity Force. Driver has upgraded his Seeker's Arm Guard into a Zhonya, so has another stasis in this next fight. It's looking at 3 items apiece pretty much across the board, apart from Doggo, who has managed to get himself to that mark of 4. Now, this is something Yorick can do, and it's pretty sneaky. He's going to start up the Otacon by himself. He can do this entirely alone, does not need assistance from the Jhin. Hope is going to come across, but there's no vision at all for CFO on this bot side. So the question is, do they realize, do they pull the trigger? Because AL at the moment have 4 petals, and that is going to start to explode as they secure the Otacon.
I feel like they have to recognize that this is gone. There's too much missing on the map, and they just weren't in a position to contest. There's a world, of course, where they could try and force the Baron, but again, we talk about these disengage tools. Bard can stall, Azir is still there that can poke away at you. There's also the Poppy ultimate. It's a difficult thing to force. Your best play is to try and find a pick instead, try and force onto a player. But CFO weren't quick enough on the trigger. AL also playing very respectfully. Means that that's just an easy Otacon secured. The good news is that not that many petals overall for AL.
I mean, they got about 11 from it, and obviously they'll get more if they get takedowns, but for the moment, it just evens out the scores. Kyle is caught out, has to flash. Looking at the Cosmic Binding as well. The Explosive Cast will knock all of AL back, and CFO will take it and disengage the fight. Kyle no longer has that flash, but no Summoner's Burnt on the side of AL.
Gragas ultimate, while on cooldown, is coming up pretty quickly. Going to be unavailable, of course, as the Dragon is now alive. Tarzan forced to flash. Good Summoner burn. Driver very isolated, though.
Shanks goes in, flash away from Driver, dodges the Emperor's Divide. So that's 2 flashes and an ultimate down now for AL, and CFO see their window. They'll start up the Drake, knock back Tarzan. Gets the knockup, but it's only onto Kaiwing. Weaver's Wall will separate the fight out a little bit. Doggo and Junja waiting for Honkyu to back them up. Shanks trying to put the damage in from the side. Kyle forced away. Kaiwing on that front line as he tries to get through the pit. Junja in there, but it's secured by Kyle, who may have switched to smite. Junja's gonna have to get the hell out. The curtain's open. Junja's already down the side, shove across the wall into the bullet time. Isn't enough to kill off Shanks. Kaiwing will fall in the end. And somehow AL win out the fight in the river. Honkyu slammed into the wall and massacred by anyone's legend. Doggo follows suit. In the end, a double for Hope and a 5-for-1 exchange.
I think that may very well just be game. The death timers are very long. AL see the Nexus in their eyes, there's no one standing in their way, and they're looking to close out game one.
For so long, it seemed like CFO could get back into the game. AL had this lead, and then in one explosive fight, they just rip any control of the game away from the LCP #1 seeds. It's 1-0 AL.
A lot of things were happening in that final fight. A lot of things. Shanks on the flank, the knockback from Poppy, the wall to intersect.